My background. There we go. Uh, Perfect. So welcome to Coffee Connect, everybody. I'm Roddy. I'm the host. Uh, Always, you can look back at the episodes at www.addictedtoconnecting.com, right, and look at the past episodes as well. Today's video that we are recording will be available tomorrow. Just so you guys all do know, Jessica, who presented last week, right, she was really furious with herself because she had something come up. She was really wanting to be here to further the conversation on resilience this morning and stuff, but I told her, I said, watch the video. It'll be good. And I think we're going to have a good time with it. And so if you do enjoy the conversation, such as what Jessica did last week, right? I would encourage you to email me at ccinfo@addictedtoconnecting.com. I'd love to get you on the invite list so that you know the upcoming topics for the following week, and you can make a conscious decision of, hey, is this something that's valuable to me, or is it not, right? And so uh, anybody have any celebrations, announcements, or asks before we get into the topic today? No celebrations? I'll share mine. 54 years old on Thursday. On September 11th, I'll be 54. So uh, rock on. I'll be celebrating at breakfast, hopefully with as many people as possible from here in Cincinnati. And so announcements, there are some job openings that I got from uh, oh my gosh, why can I not think of it? It's a job hunting group here in Cincinnati. I will get those posted to the Coffee Connect LinkedIn page. Kate, I think I owe you a couple things from our conversation, and I know I haven't gotten around to it. It's just been kind of crazy and stuff, but I'll get those to you. Darcy, I still got to introduce you to Clint. I know that. I talked to Clint last week about it, actually. So he's up for it. I like to make sure both parties are open to the conversation before doing that, but I'll get you introduced to Clint. I think there's some good conversations about score that you guys can have. And so if there are asks or anything, please bring those up throughout the day so we can get those out. So today's conversation, like I said, really driven out of Jessica's presentation last week, really talking about resilience as a foundational piece to getting yourself back into the norm and stuff. And there's lots of things out there that could cause us to not be resilient, right? And whether we're in job search and we've been ghosted by, the numerous companies and stuff, or maybe you've got a business and you've been ghosted by appointments and stuff. That's happened as well, right? There's all kinds of things that can happen. I broke these down. I said, I think these are what we refer to as extreme resilience needs, right? I didn't put an acronym with it. We could have, whatever, but obviously repeated rejection over time, uh, that can take a toll on people, right? And you can get to the point where you're telling yourself things that probably aren't true, right? And stuff. Coping with major loss, whether it be a family member, a loved one, your job itself, right? There's numerous ways that we look at that. Battling chronic illnesses. Uh, I've seen people, I think we've all seen it on Facebook, fight cancer, especially in the last 10 years with the dynamics of modern medicine and things, right? Uh, with a different face on themselves, right, than maybe what they had 20 or 30 years ago, because they know there is hope still. Uh, but you got to have that hope inside of you and belief that, hey, I can get over this, right? Financial ruin and debt, overcoming addiction, right? Surviving toxic and abusive environments, whether that be at home or at work, guys, right? It happens all over the place, right? All of these things can be something that can smack you in the face, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm not worthy. Maybe I'm not pretty. Maybe I'm not beautiful. Maybe I'm not kind. Maybe I'm not. And you tell yourself things that are not true, right? Failure. I'm not good enough, right? Maybe I wasn't meant to be here. Maybe I wasn't meant to create a business. Long-term uncertainty. I think this is where maybe a lot of us fall, especially if you're in the job search mode, because I've had conversations, with Darcy and with Kate and stuff in the last few weeks. I said, the time frame, right, in which companies hire today is not what they hired 15, 20 years ago, right? It takes a little longer. There may be a few more interviews, and in that whole time, there's uncertainty out there, right? Michael and I have had this conversation and stuff. I mean, and then public humiliation, right? I'm a firm believer, guys, if there is one way that you can build resilience amongst yourself, right? Create your own public humiliation and walk away from it with a smile on your face going, yep, right? I mean, uh, part of my initiation when we went through Chiefs initiation, right? It is about being humiliated, not to the point that people are laughing at you for the rest of your life, but humiliation comes into play to just say, man, I'm just a person. I put my pants on just like everybody else, right? I have to wake up. I've got blood, flowing through my veins, and I can be cut and I can die and those things. I think public humiliation may take it, people think I just humiliated you, and you should never come back from this. You should never show your face in public again, when in fact we should learn lessons from what just happened, right? And use that to fuel our return, right? I don't say our revenge because it's not about revenge, right? Fuel our return, right? And obviously major life transitions if you started having children or as I've mentioned several times, right, taking my youngest off to college and kind of becoming this uh, first level empty nester type thing right now, or going through divorces and things like that can be some serious transition. When I got out of the military, right, there was a lot of I'm not sure, right? Because corporate America is not the military. Right. So I point these out in extreme resilience needs, and hopefully you took a screenshot of these because we're going to come back to these here as we go through. Right. Without a doubt, I think everyone raise your hand. Right. If you feel like there is a need to understand resilience in your life.
Mhm.
Right. I think all of us are there, right? We're like, hey, we know things knock us down, and eventually we've got to get back up. There's a country artist or a pair of country artists right now, right? Bailey Zimmerman and Luke Combs have a song that's called "Get Back Up." That's the only backup plan you need, right? And that's true, right? We've seen the Rocky movies that he talks to his son about getting hit, right? It's not about getting hit or how hard you can hit, right? It's about knowing that you can get back up, right? I think it was George Foreman or one of the boxers, right? Obviously, uh, said a fighter's battle, right, is won long before they enter the ring, and it's because they made decision before they enter the ring that when they hit the mat, they're going to get back up,
Mhm.
right? And I think we all have to learn the approach of when we're going to hit the mat, when we hit the mat, because it's not a matter of if we're ever going to hit the mat, right? How fast are we going to get back up, right? It's easy to lay there for the 8 seconds and go, okay, let me get my wits about me, right? I would tell you to jump back up right away, right? Force them to swing at you again, right? And keep getting back up and don't quit. And that's the only way that failure doesn't come to exist, right? Is that if we continue to persist that we're going to try again, right? We're going to try again. And so today's going to be about a lot of breakout discussions. I don't want to sit here and lecture you guys because I think you all know that this is a serious topic and a real topic that exists, and we all experience the need for it. And so I'm going to send us to breakout right away. And we're going to take a good amount of time in breakouts today, guys. It's 10:14. We're going to go for about 10 minutes, right? And so again, screenshot these because we're going to come back to these at some point. But on breakout room number one, let me go back to sharing here so you can see the breakout room discussion too. Uh, I want you to just kind of talk about one setback or failure that maybe has shaped you in your life. Right. What is one experience that you've had that just knocked you in the gut and you were like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Maybe it was that job of 20 years that you were at, and all of a sudden they said, hey, we don't need you anymore. Or maybe it was the loss of a child, or maybe it was a loss of a parent, you know. Uh, tell me, talk about how you felt at that time. How do you feel about that same experience today? What lessons did you learn about not just the experience, about yourself, right? And given today the person that you are and the more experienced, mature individual that you've become, right? What would you tell yourself today, right? What would you tell your 35-year-old self or your 20-year-old self today about that experience to learn from? So let me stop sharing. I've got the breakout rooms set. We're going to go for about 12 or 13 minutes. Somebody's texted me telling me they can't get in. I don't know what the problem is.
There they come. Back.
All righty. All righty, guys. So, anybody care to share or maybe some of the lessons that you heard? So, share. Hopefully, you guys will unmute and start to do the same. But in our room, I think I getting back up, right? Darcy mentioned about it's not, you know, you got to have that mentality of I'm not going to let things stop you, right? And I think one of the things um, that we all looked at, or I heard from a lot of folks that were in our rooms, right, is that we were able to assess things, right? When it happened to us, we were able to assess and try to figure out where the energy was, where the positive energy was in the event or the occurrence that just happened, right, and stuff. And um, with the exception of of one of us, right, I think we, you know, and that was only because of the event that that individual went through was so dramatic, right? Uh, that it's hard to assess at that point, right, because of what they might have went through. So um, asking for help though was a commonality, right? Who do you turn to? Anybody else?
I'll go.
Oh,
Go ahead, Julie. Yeah.
um, my setback was is I got stage 4 cancer. And that so I had to quit my job. I had to move to my mother's house for the treatment because I knew it was going to be a long haul. It took me almost 2 years, 5 operations, 2 rounds of chemo. So it was not pleasant. But it was, I was stage 4. There's no stage 5. And I know I'm just such a hard head and, bound and determined that I'm going to go beat it, even though it's supposedly unbeatable. And that, so no, none of my doctors and nurses and that see this every day really didn't think that it's survivable. The odds are so against you, but they don't know the kind of person I am. But that made me, have to quit my job and just focus on just my health. And I had to go move to my mom's house to take care of her, and then she passed away just barely after I started the chemo the first time. So then I had to deal with that mess. But, it really did teach me, that I am who I am. This is, kind of the reason why I'm this way. I am stubborn and that and certain things and stuff. So, but in the moment, you don't know, once somebody says the C word, you don't hear anymore. You can't focus anymore. It's such a life-changing alteration in that. Although more and more now it's survivable, but you just don't know how you're going to react when it's you. Now I've gone through this twice, so I know what it's like. And but what I would say is that, you know, I guess I give myself the same advice that I give everybody else is that, you make the best of your best of the situation. In that, are you going to fight it? Or are you going to just lay down and die? I didn't want to die, so I fought it. And that, so, but yeah, as soon as you said this, Rodney, I knew I was the cat was out of the bag on this one. So so I'm still here, and this is one of the reasons why I volunteer and help people and do my networking event list, is that I thought the best way I could help people is by helping them get a job. And that, so that's one of the big reasons why I do this. So that's me. So all right, somebody else step up to the plate.
Joe, were you going to say something? Were you going to add something earlier?
Are you asking me?
Yeah,
Um,
somebody
I
started
just,
jumping in originally, but
2009 was just an awful year, and I lost my mom, totaled my car, lost my job,
Ah,
and it's just kind of those three things together. It was just kind of like, okay, I don't really uh, just really kind of had to fight through all of that, and there was, and I'll try to end this on a semi-humorous note. There was a Daniel Johnson Jr. who has been here in the past, but he's working again now. He told me, he said, and I forget who said it initially, but he said, for the rich there's psychotherapy, for the rest of us there's music. And I saw Jeff put a thing in the chat earlier, Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba, and it was like, that is Um, the lyrics of that is, I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to keep me down. And that was when I really needed a boost. I would put that on my, at that time it was an iPod, and I would just crank it up and take a walk. And that was, music was a very good way to get through some of the really low times when I was out of work.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, I think you got to have something to remind you, hey, I can't stay down here, right?
Yep.
Can't stay down here.
Winston Churchill once said, "When you're going through hell, keep going."
Yeah, don't stop for sure.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Nobody else has been through rough times. So I listen, there's a lot to go through, right? I mean, we all have to understand. And I think one of the things that I think about, right, is, hey, I guarantee you, whatever I'm going through, somebody else has it worse,
Mhm.
right? And that's not a great thing to think about, because I really don't want to think about somebody else going through something that might be worse, right? But you got to understand that there's other people out there fighting worse things, right? I mean, Julie did share her experience of cancer, and uh, Steve, am I okay? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, me as well. Right. Yeah.
yeah, Steve shared that he, a leukemia survivor, right? 7 years
Mhm.
now, and if they went through that, right, and came out as great as what they are, then it doesn't matter what we're about to face today. Right.
Mhm.
We know that we've got to just look back, figure out what went wrong, what went good, and move forward with the lessons learned, right? And continue to act on the things that are most important in our lives, right? And nothing else.
it
And so,
it
go
because
ahead.
something didn't come up in our conversation that's occurring to me here, and that is, we all can reframe the our memory of the event. We can look back on it and choose a different lesson from it. And sometimes the conversation you have with other people will help you do that. I don't have any really big tragic things in my life to share. I probably lack the lessons that I would learn from those, because I don't think I have those. I know many people who have had these events besides the people here, and the lesson that I hopefully will take away from this is that you can choose the lesson you take away from this. I I don't, I mean, I feel silly to even share a story because I don't have anything that's that has this big of a thing. But one of my friends reframed my lesson that I took away from a less exciting and terrifying event that basically changed the way I look at the world. So we have a chance to choose what lesson we take. That's all.
And I think you're absolutely right, Jeff. And by talking to other people, we can definitely gain perspective on what that is. Lamar, go ahead.
Jeff, you may not have had anything terrible, but I seem to remember your mother having a very serious illness. And the support that you and your father got for her. This was a very, very dangerous, and I forget all the details, except that her chance of survival was very, very small. But prayer worked and support worked. And wasn't that like almost 20 years ago now?
In 2009, my mom was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and she's still with us. She's had multiple surgeries. She has no pancreas, so she's a diabetic. I tell people, for a woman with missing part of her liver, part of her stomach, her pancreas, and whatever other organs, they end up with no gallbladder. She's got a lot of guts.
She is a phenomenal woman, and your
He's here all
father's
week.
man.
So there's things out there that we need to recognize. Obviously, the self-talk that we have within ourselves as to saying that we're not good enough or not worthy, right? The overwhelmingness, right? We can often look at things and go, oh my gosh, that's a mountain to climb. How am I going to climb it, right? And feeling burdened that you have to climb it by yourself versus saying, hey, Rodney, can you reach back and help me up to the next step? Or hey, Dave, can you get behind me and push me a little bit, right? Because that's sometimes what we need, right? Obviously, there's always the fear of failure. And then I will tell you probably one of the things that most of us go through, right, is comparing ourselves not to who we were yesterday, but comparing ourselves to someone else. Stop it, right?
Yeah.
Right? You're not a Joe Burrow, right? Don't think you can throw the ball like him, right? You're not a Warren Buffett. You probably can't invest in stocks and companies and stuff with the wisdom that Warren does, right? Or I mean, so don't compare yourself to anybody else except who you were yesterday, right? Perfectionism is a real thing, right? My wife, I tell her, I said, quit being perfect, and it enables you from making a decision. Right? It prohibits you from making, you're like, oh my gosh, it's not the perfect thing. I can't make a decision about it. Just make a decision, right? Not making a decision is a decision for sure, right? But it's not getting you anywhere. You're just frozen right there, right? And then you end up procrastinating and everything else, and that doesn't help things either. So we have to understand what those triggers might be that starts to create the feeling of I can't, or I'm not, or whatever it is, right? And so once we can identify the triggers, we can cut it off at the pass a lot more. Last week I gave the simple explanation of, hey, we get cut off in traffic, and many of us might have the instant emotional reaction, right? Joe, I seen Joe's hands going up, right? My wife often tells me I'm number one, right? And that gets us
Number
right?
11.
Right? Creating that emotional reaction really doesn't get us anywhere, right? And I told you, I said, take a deep breath and go, well, there must be a reason they're in a hurry, right? There must be a reason, uh, you know. And I did this last week. I found myself, someone was sitting at the stop sign and they literally let like 3 cars go. And I'm like, go, it's your turn, right? I'm getting mad. And it didn't occur to me until after I got through the stop sign finally. And I was like, they might have just wanted to be nice to people. And they might have just wanted to take that moment to have an act of kindness to go, I'm going to let a couple cars go here before I go. And once I thought about that, my mind was like, oh, you're an idiot, dude. Why'd you get mad for it?
Nah, I bet they were looking at their cell phone.
They might have been, but they might have been, but you don't know. And they might have been dealing with someone calling them in an emergency going, hey, your loved one just passed away. Right? There's
You're
all
reframing.
Yeah, you got to reframe it. You got to think, man, there's a million variables out in this world, right? they don't all have to be bad, right? They don't all have to be bad. So you got to you got to shift that perspective of where it is. And so last thing, so it's 10:47. I want to go to a breakout room one more time, guys. Right? We've all heard from a couple people that have had to deal with some of the extremes, right? I want you to share how you might have dealt with the extreme. And so for Ron and Julie that maybe have already dealt with it, right? You might have to be the coaches here a little bit to say, here's what I did, or here's what I refrained from doing, right? So let me open this up. We're going to go for about 10 minutes. I will see you guys back here shortly. I think it's crazy because in sales, we often go through this training that, getting to the point where when you're talking about something and someone mentions something, why do I need life insurance, or whatever the case might be, right? That your response becomes natural, right? That you're just like, I know the answer to this question, right? And you can answer it. And I think preparing yourself for bad stuff is the same way, right? I know not all of you guys heard that, right? I ended my conversation with preventative actions can go a long way, right? And believing in the golden rule that you do unto others, and just preparing yourself, right? If I'm kind to Darcy and Julie remembers me as a nice person and stuff, that when something happens to me, right? The biggest thing I need is to surround myself with love and others, right? And just maybe they're not harping on me about stuff. Maybe they're just asking me, "How you doing, Rodney? Is there anything I can help you with?" or whatever else. And so I think whether it be job loss or fighting cancer, right? Those are the biggest things that we can have, is having advocates around that love us and want to protect us and want to help us through the situation that we're in and stuff. Not so much going, Steve, you got to eat your vegetables, okay? Right? Or whatever the case might be, right? So any epiphanies in this last breakout room before we wrap up here? None. Nobody had none. So guys, it's a muscle. You got to exercise it, right? Take the time when small things make you mad today, right? When small things frustrate you, or when those voices start to come into your head, right? That you take the deep breath, right? You can read up on box breathing, 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out, there's all kinds of methods to it, right? But you don't need to take 30 minutes of meditation. Take a couple minutes, right? What'd you say, Teresa? I seen you mouth it.
I just said, take your pause, take a
Take
pause,
your pause. That's it.
take
Right?
your
I think
pause.
that was in your lesson when you spoke.
Yeah,
Right?
it was.
Take your pause. Right? Don't
And
try
it's
to
your
fight it.
pause. So whatever that means to you.
That's right. That's right. And assess the situation and goes, this isn't as bad as what it looks, right?
Yep.
And then figure out what is the step that you got to take forward. Maybe it's to the left a little bit, or to the right a little bit, or whatever. Maybe it's not straightforward, right? But take the step, guys.
Mhm.
Right? Guys, we can't stop at just exercising resilience every once in a while, right? It's a muscle.
Mhm.
If you only go to the gym once, you can't expect to lose 20 pounds, right? If you only eat healthy today, you can't expect to live the rest of your life. I mean, it just doesn't happen that way, right?
You're
It's
calling
something
me
you
out
got to
here,
practice.
Rodney.
What's that, Kate?
I said, I feel like I'm being called out here.
Hey, no, I mean, you got to practice these things, right? And I would tell you the best time to practice them isn't often when they occur, right? It's in the back of your mind when you're sitting in your silent zone in the mornings, right? Or when you're just reading the Bible in the morning, or whatever you do in the morning, your morning routines, right? Take a few minutes and go, hey, when this happens today, right? When this event occurs, or when this emotion comes into play, I'm not going to let it control me. I'm going to control it, right? I'm not going to hit the mat and stay down. I'm going to get back up. Well, go out there, have a great week, everybody. And remember, I love you.
Have a good week, everybody.
See y'all.